Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Opposition calls for online learning to remain an option as face-to-face brace for price increases. A warning from the Jamaica Agricultural Society. Sports, the West Indies bowlers claimed the first session on the opening day of the first test against England in Antigua. I'm Krista Campbell and here are the details. Keep online classes as an option. That suggestion from opposition spokesperson on education, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, a day after the full resumption of face-to-face classes. Sandy Williams reports.
The country's plunging COVID-19 cases gave way for the full resumption of face-to-face classes on Monday. It's news the opposition welcomes, as it's been calling for students to return to the physical classroom for a while.
Any call for full face-to-face is going to be welcomed by me because it is something that I have been calling for quite some time, and I believe it is long overdue. We have already seen what face-to-face has been, what students have come back, and so we know we needed to bring the others in. So it is a good day that the schools have been asked to bring all students back face-to-face.
Opposition spokesperson on education, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, says now that students and teachers are back in the physical classroom, online classes should not be abandoned. She believes the schools should keep virtual classes as an option for students who may have medical or other challenges.
We have students who do have underlying conditions who might, at this point, be fearful of coming out at this time. I think there should be an option for those students who can't come online because of health reasons and so on, so that they can also have some kind of offering for them. And I believe it's time we look at that.
The COVID-19 pandemic, which forced schools onto virtual platforms for 2 years, has exposed some weaknesses in the country's technological infrastructure. Dr. Brown-Burke says this remains a concern that needs to be addressed.
Where the future lies is that Jamaica is going to have to fast-track what we do so that we can be on par with other countries in the Caribbean and in the world about what's happening. And so I believe that one of the things that really needs to happen also is the technological infrastructure in our communities and in our schools need to really come on board to allow our students to take advantage of that because it's going to be part of the future.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
We head over to St. Mary, where schools in Port Maria reopened for face-to-face classes Monday morning after suffering losses from recent flooding. But as we hear from Cody and Barrett, the school still has a far way to go to get back to normal.
3 classes, along with equipment and furniture, were damaged at the Port Maria Primary School after being flooded for 3 weeks. The school struggled to clean up in time for face-to-face classes to resume this week. But according to the principal, Carla Ruddock, the school had to put in temporary arrangements to accommodate students.
We had to put in some temporary partitions in a few classrooms. So we are in the process now of having the students enter in the classrooms. So as soon as they are settled in, then we will have an overall assessment as to how well what we have put in place, as to how well that is working.
The school is now awaiting further directives from the Ministry of Education on furniture replacement.
We have gotten 5 teachers' desks and chairs, as well as 82 students, the single desk and chairs. But we are in need of additional seats for both teachers and students.
Over 100 more desks and chairs are needed at the school, along with further repairs and additional classrooms. And despite the school's cleanup efforts, some parents are not satisfied.
The mud that they put in them. The classroom then clean, but out a door. Yeah, one more week for the mud dry up and clean off good.
Look on the place. Look on the place. This could have wash off some more, brother, and do some more things, daddy. That me I talk about. Could I do some more cleaning up?
However, vendors are grateful for the reopening.
For the past 2 years, I was at home sitting down. Not much wasn't going on. And now that school has reopened, it has been a tremendous help for me, and I feel really good about it.
When school locked me weak, school open now me feel strong, feel better. And I see me can take care of my family and take care of my light bill and them things there, Food can't go up on table right now. Now I feel that they hold up a frustration now, you know.
Cody and Barrett, TVJ News.
Brace for more price increases. That's according to the Jamaica Agricultural Society, JAS, which says the logistics issue due to COVID-19 and the ongoing crisis between Russia and Ukraine continue to impact global prices. The JAS also noted there is a shortage of a few fertilizers which are important to crop production. O'Shane Masters has the details.
The Russia-Ukraine crisis continues to have far-reaching impact, especially with world trade in goods and services. A March 4 Bloomberg article said Russia is looking to stop fertilizer exports, a move that's expected to shock the global market and push prices of crop nutrients to new records. The article further added that Russia's move adds to uncertainty in the global market when farmers in Brazil, the world's largest importer of fertilizer, are already having trouble getting nutrients for crops. But what's the local impact? Lenworth Fulton is the president of the Jamaica Agricultural Society.
The challenge is that it adds to the already cumbersome logistic problem that is coming over from the COVID. And this war adds to the logistic problem. No-fly zone, ships can't travel, companies that are Russian-owned have been targeted by the Western powers and so on. So there will be serious effects, and it will come with increased prices.
He's therefore urging the government to step in.
Most the JS can do is to continue to have discussion with government to look on it from a wider perspective, and probably to include the CARICOM in it so that we will have a bigger voice to see if we can abate it by getting the regular supplies of fertilizer and other agricultural input from countries that are not affected. We must consider, however, that Jamaica and the Caribbean is but a very small player in issues like these, but we can be affected in a very serious way.
In 2019, the Russian Federation was a top country in the exportation of ammonium nitrate of some 3.75 million tons. That accounted for 44.56% of the world's ammonium nitrate export. Now, ammonium nitrate is a synthetic source of nitrogen, one of the 14 essential soil nutrients needed for plant growth.
And we take our first break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Lawmen in the St. Andrew North Police Division are reporting a reduction in serious crime. They're attributing this to improvements in community policing and active neighborhood watch groups. Jamila Maitland tells us more.
The grim reality of the nation's crime problem has left several Jamaicans in fear and in constant worry. It's one of the reasons residents of Grandspen and surrounding communities in the St. Andrew North Police Division have formed a bond with the police, which is yielding success.
So we were able to do a number of interventions within the Grandspen community, and to a point where the police station was established. And for about 4 to 5 years, there was not one murder within the Grandspen space.
DSP Colin Johnson underscored the significance of effective community policing as a key factor in the reduction of crime in the area. He says the aim now is to apply the same approach to other areas within the division.
So what we're actually doing now within these other communities now is to transform those communities, do the same initiative that we would have used in Grandspen within these communities with a view to reduce crime.
Head of the police division, SSP Aaron Fletcher, says the use of active communication also played a key role in maintaining strong relationships with residents.
Where a citizen, a neighbor, a householder notices something happening, whether within their household or at the neighbor's household, and they can post in a WhatsApp group, which is monitored around the clock by the police, then you're going to get a sharper response.
Any challenge you may have, there's an instant contact with the police, and the community. And so we thrive on that. And so we organize certain things that will prevent undesirables from being part and parcel, because we want it to be in link with the peace officers in order for our community to be safe at all times.
And the residents are happy.
They would come to our meetings when we have them, give us talks and, give us tips on how to be safe. So we have always had a good rapport with the police at Constant Spring.
Residents would, put in the group any issues that are immediate in terms of, what's happening in the community. There have been once or twice, they have had persons saying, hey, look, we hear something happening over there. And, persons start calling the police, and police makes a very effective response. So it has been very, very effective.
Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.
There was a slight increase in Jamaica's COVID-19 positivity rate yesterday. The Ministry of Health says 15 new cases were confirmed from 1,963 samples. The positivity rate is 4.7%. The overall case count is 128,228. And COVID-19 hospitalizations have decreased to 86. The island's death toll is now 2,831 after one additional death was reported on Monday. And it's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
The Jamaica Chamber of Commerce says it will not support any further increases in the Bank of Jamaica's policy interest rate. The chamber has lamented that the increase, which is driving up the cost of borrowing, is adversely impacting growth.
All of those factors add up to, heightened concerns for businesses. Then to compound that, now you have the situation with the conflict in Ukraine and the knock-on effect that will have on businesses. The expectation is that, cost of fuel will increase, shortages in food will result in increased prices.
International energy company Shell says it will immediately stop purchasing Russian crude oil. The announcement comes as Shell apologized after being publicly criticized for buying a cargo of Russian crude at a discounted price on the weekend. The energy giant also said it would close its 500 service stations in Russia and stop its aviation fuel and lubricant operations there as well. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
For the top regional and international stories, we go to Sandy Williams.
In regional news, the St. Lucian-based Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Commission, OECS, said it will continue to advocate for the development of relevant policies, plans and programs to address existing gender deficits in political, economic, social and cultural life. In a message marking International Women's Day, OECS Director General Dr. Didakos Jules said this would remain a priority for the OECS Commission. Dr. Jules added that the Commission has been actioned through the inclusion of gender as a cross-cutting theme in the organization's new strategic plan and the institution of the Commission's gender policy. International Women's Day is being observed under the theme Gender Equality for Sustainable Tomorrow. On the international scene, President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling on world leaders to help Ukraine. In a video message, Zelensky said world leaders' inaction amounts to genocide. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And time now for another break. And when we return, Renardo Brown will have your midday sports report.
Welcome back. It's now time for your midday sports. Now, the West Indies bowlers claimed the first session on the opening day of the first test in Antigua against England, claiming 4 wickets for 57 runs before lunch. Electing to bat, England lost debutant Alex Lee, leg before wicket, for 4 off the bowling of Kemar Roach with a score on 12. 5 runs later, both openers were gone as Zach Crawley was brilliantly caught by wicketkeeper Joshua Da Silva off the bowling of Jaden Seals for 8. Captain Joe Root, who was dropped by Jermaine Blackwood at third slip, was bowled the very next ball by Kemar Roach for 13 before Dan Lawrence was removed by Jason Holder for 20. Johnny Bairstow and Ben Stokes saw the batsmen at the crease with England 89 for 4 after the interval. Jamaican Chanel Henry says that she expects a close contest when the West Indies take on England in their second game at the ICC Women's 50 Over World Cup today at the University Oval in New Zealand. Both teams have had a contrasting start to the World Cup so far, with West Indies pulling off a thriller against New Zealand in the opening clash of the tournament to win by just 3 runs. Meanwhile, England could not get over the line against Australia in their opening game and lost by just 12 runs. England, however, will start as favourites, having won 15 of their last 22 ODI games. The English have also won all 4 of their previous World Cup meetings against the West Indies. However, with confidence from their opening game win over New Zealand, the Caribbean women will be looking to make it 2 from 2.
As you said, it's a used pitch, 100 overs already bowled on that pitch. As I said, watching that previous game between Australia and England, the spinners was really who took charge of the game. And in our squad, we have really good spinners. We have quality spinners, and really it doesn't matter whoever has the ball, whether it's a spin bowler, pace bowler. We know the job we have to do, and I'm pretty sure, looking back, as I said, the game, that England-Australia game, we saw things that, we could take from that game, and going out there tomorrow, we're just going to go out there and do our best.
The game goes off at 5 p.m. Jamaica time. More cricket. Australia's first test in Pakistan since 1998 will be remembered as a run fest, as only 14 wickets fell across 5 days for 1,187 runs in their drawn game in Rawalpindi. Australia, in response to Pakistan's 476 for 4 declared, started the 5th and final day at 449 for 7 before losing their last 3 wickets for 10 runs, with the innings ending at 459 all out. Left-arm spinner Norman Ali ended with 6 for 107 as Usman Khawaja 97, Marnus Labuschagne 90 and Steve Smith 78 ended as the top scorers for Australia. In their second innings, Pakistan reached 252 without loss before the test ended 21 overs early after both teams agreed to a draw. Abdullah Shafiq, with his maiden test century, ended not out on 136, while Imam ul Haq, who scored 157 in the first innings, was unbeaten on 111. The left-hander became the 10th Pakistan batsman to score centuries in each innings of a test, as a host racked up an astounding 728 for 4 in the entire match. Australia's combined bowling average of 238.33 and strike rate of 478 were the second worst in 145 years of Test cricket, sitting only behind Pakistan's efforts in Kingston, Jamaica in 1958, when Sir Garfield Sobers made 365 not out. And finally, English giants Liverpool will go in search of their 8th straight win of the UEFA Champions League season when they host Inter Milan in their second leg round of 16 tie at Anfield later today. The Reds, who won all 6 group stage games, take a 2-0 lead into their return home leg after scoring twice in the last 15 minutes at the San Siro on February 16. In the other game today, Bayern Munich will hope home advantage will give them the lift they need to get by a stubborn RB Salzburg team who are in the round of 16 for the first time. Salzburg were just minutes away from an unlikely win at home on February 16 before Kingsley Coman scored for Bayern in the 90th minute. With the no away goal rule, teams will make progress based on aggregate. Both games kick off at 3 p.m. And that's it for your Midday Sports Report. Krista, it's back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Renardo. And that's the news. I'm Krista Campbell. Join us again at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a pleasant afternoon.